Changes of states. Chapter 10, Lesson 1, pages 398-399. The state of matter could be changed when it is heated or cooled. That means you can change the state of matter by heating it or cooling it. Let's see how we can change. We can change a solid into a liquid and a liquid into a gas. And we can change a gas into a liquid and a liquid into a solid. When the arrangement of the tiny particles changes, the state of matter will change. That means if you change the arrangement of the particles, you will change the matter. Let's see how. As you see here, we have a solid and the particles are packed closely together. When it changes into a liquid, the particles will have more spaces and they begin to move. And then when you change from a liquid into a gas, the particles have more spaces and they can move freely. Now, how you can change from solid into a liquid? You should heat. And when you heat a solid, it gains energy. Also, when you want to change from a liquid into a gas, you should heat the liquid so it gains energy. When you want to change from a gas into a liquid, you should cool the gas so it loses heat. And when you want to change from a liquid into a solid, also you should cool the liquid so it loses energy. Gains energy, it means the temperature rises. How you can rise the temperature? By heating. When you heat a matter, the temperature rises and the matter gains energy. Loses energy, it means the temperature drops by cooling. So when you cool matter, the temperature drops and it loses energy. Today, we will study how to change from a solid to a liquid. We have here a solid, it's an ice cube. We want to change it into a liquid, it's a water. We should heat the solid, so the solid gains energy and changes into a liquid. The particles will change. In the solid, they are packed closely together and they will change into far apart particles and they can move. This process, we call it melting. Melting means changing from a solid to a liquid. Actually, different solids melt at different temperatures. It means the solids, they don't melt at the same temperature. For example, ice melts at 0 Celsius degree. It means the ice will begin to melt when the temperature becomes 0, while rocks melt at more than 1100 Celsius degree. Let's see how the particles will change. In the solid, the particles are packed closely together and the particles cannot move. When we heat a solid, it gains energy. So what will happen to the particles? The particles begin to move. When they get more energy, they will move away from one another. And here the particles are far apart and slide past one another. Here we will have the liquid particles. As you see, they have more space than the solid, so they can move. Changing the particles of the solid into a liquid causes the solid to lose its shape and becomes liquid. So when the solid changes the way of packing the particles, so it will lose its shape and become liquid. And as you remember, liquids take the shape of the container. Let's see another changing. It's from a liquid to a gas. We have here a liquid, it's water, and we will change it. When we heat the liquid, it gains energy and it will change into a gas, water vapor. The particles will change. Here they have spaces and they can move, but when they change into a gas, they have more spaces and more energy. They move freely. We call this process evaporating. Evaporating means changing from a liquid to a gas. We have two ways to change from liquid to a gas. First, boil the water. It means heat the water to a high temperature. Then it changes into water vapor. The other way, if you have wet clothes, put it under the sun, and the water droplets in the clothes change into water vapor in the air, so the clothes dry. Let's see how the particles change. In liquid, the particles are far apart, they slide past one another, the particles move slowly. When you heat a liquid, it gains energy. When it gains energy, the particles move faster and spread apart, so they move freely. This is the way of how the particles are in a gas. An example of changing from a liquid to a gas: when you are making a tea, you will boil the water. After a while, you will see that there is water vapor going out. So this is from liquid to gas. Let's check if you understood the lesson. Here you have kind of matter, solid and liquid. The solid, if you heat it, it will change into, we call this process a liquid. If you heat it, it will change into, and we call this process. Now fill in the blanks. Particles in solids are held. Describe the way that the particles are packed in the solid. When you heat solids, the particles and lose the solid's shape. What will happen to the particles when you heat it? Particles in liquids, one another. You will describe the way of the particles in the liquids. Now liquid boils, so the particles move and spread out. Check the answers. You can change, flow around, or far apart, or slide past one another.